Hello, everyone. Welcome to the series named Conversation with Kushal once again. Today, we have a very special guest amongst us who's not only a business leader, but also a speaker, mentor, coach, author, business activist, and a social worker. He's none other than Robin Banerjee, sir. He's a managing director of Caprihans Limited. He has been former CFO of Suzlon Group and has been an executive director for SR Steel and Thomas Cook. He's a chartered accountant, cost accountant, and a company secretary. He's the chairman of CII Maharashtra for Finance and Tax Committee. He's also written several books, including two best-selling non-fiction books, Who Cheats and How, Scams, Frauds and Dark Side of the Corporate World, and Who Blunders and How, The Dumb Side of the Corporate World. Apart from work, he's a gym enthusiast where his favorite exercise is cardio. And you know why he has reached this level today? Because he's fond of playing table tennis and therefore knows how to be alert, focused, and quick at the same time. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting my invitation. It's pleasure having you over here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I think that the two most important days in a person's life are when that the person is born and when the person realizes why he was born. So it's usually difficult to realize the reason why that particular person was born. And the first part, every one of us knows the date when that person was born. So I just want to ask you, when did you realize why you were born?
I have a, I had a very tough childhood. When I was a kid, food was not available every day. And as I progressed, um, when I appeared for the higher secondary examination from the state of West Bengal, I stood second in the state. And prior to that, the whole objective was somehow to pass higher secondary exam and get some sort of a clerical job. So the first turning point in my life was standing second in order of in the merit order. So obviously I became a merit scholar. And everyone around said, no, you have to study more. You cannot join as a clerk of a bank. So one turning point was the result of my first public examination. As I proceeded, I wanted to do MBA. I thought IIMs, everyone, those days, even today, an IIM MBA, obviously, to the world, are the best paying jobs. But my father did not have the money to pay the fees. And the cheapest course those days, and even today, is a chartered accountancy course. Fortunately, it is still cheap. So obviously, as luck would have it, one continued with the CA course, completed it. And then the next turning point was that once you qualify as a CA, or for that matter, any examination, the next task is to find a job or to become an entrepreneur. Belonging to a very poor family, being an entrepreneur was out of question. So the second was to join someone. And it so happened that I got a call from a company which is very famous, Hindustan Unilever, and they called selected few, essentially the rank holders, and they held interviews in the 7 cities of India, and they picked up two each from each city, two from Kolkata, two from Bangalore, two from Delhi, two from Mumbai, and they put up 14 of them together in Mumbai for one full day exercise of interviews. And I remember that day that when this interview was taking place, our chairman came and said very simple thing that either we will select all of you or some of you or none of you. I still remember those 3 words. It so happened that out of the 14 all over India, they selected 3 and I was one of them. That was a second turning point in my life. To summarize, I believe all of you who would be watching this interview or the webinar, God gives us opportunities. We have to keep trying our best. And God does not tell you this opportunity is turning point for you. Whatever opportunity comes in front of you, hindsight might say that was a turning point, but at that time I did not know that choosing Hindustan Lever job was the best. I did not know. When I stood second in the examination, higher secondary, I continued my studies But I did not know whether that's the best thing to do. There is no food at home, so I must join a job. I must take a job. Whether that was the best thing to do at that point, we didn't know. But as you go into the hindsight, then these things comes into picture that maybe that was a turning point. So my submission to all of you is that each one of us will get opportunities. Make the best out of that, and hopefully out of the several opportunities, one or two or three will will turn out as the best ever if you have to do it in the pecking order.
Right. That was a very inspiring answer as well. And even I feel like opportunities are like sunrises. If you wait too long, you will miss them. So it's very important to grab the opportunities as soon as they are given to you, because once you grab them, then only you will be able to move ahead in your life. Completely agree with you on this. So let's go back to your CA journey and talk few anecdotes and instances of that CA journey of 5 years. So what has this particular course taught you over the period of 4 or 5 years, which you think no other code might have been able to teach you? So what is that one learning you'll cherish for the rest of the lifetime?
The one learning which this course has given us, or given I think most of us, is the ability to deep dive into a subject or a topic. The level of depth which you are supposed to understand and have in accountancy, in costing, in income tax, in Companies Act, the moment you start deep diving into the subject, whether those deep dived understanding makes you a different person, I'm not too sure. Whether those knowledge then stays for life, I'm not too sure, because most of the knowledge you will forget. But the ability to deep dive, ability to train your mind that if there is a problem in front of me, I shall deep dive into it and figure out what best to do, is the single most learning my CS study has given me.
Right, right. And I think it also broadens your perspective in terms of looking at things, because once you have this learning attitude, it broadens your horizon, and you would be able to look towards the problems in a different way. And ultimately, you'll be able to solve all those problems. So personally, even I feel this learning has been there because of the CA curriculum. Let's delve into the corporate world, which is the main topic as well. And your books have been titled as the dark side and the dumb side of the corporate world. So these are the phrases which are used in your books as well. So the name itself sounds very fascinating, and one would, like, after reading the title, I think anyone would open and read that entire book. So briefly, could you just explain us, like, what is the dark side and the dumb side of the corporate world, which people usually don't get to see, or even if they get to see, they usually tend to ignore?
All of us, in fact, that's a human tendency and trait, that we are after success and we talk of success, or we pat successes. That means if something is successful, we'll talk about it, we will discuss it, we will write on it. Perhaps you will see on televisions and WhatsApp messages success stories. But can any success come without failure? There is hardly anything which can come without failure. Think of the time a child starts walking. A child has to fall so many times to start walking. Think if you are able to ride a bicycle, how many times have you fallen over to ride the bicycle? And as the journey goes on, this failure continues to happen. Now, when I look at my business world and my business experiences so far, that I have been noticing that any best-selling book or good books are all about success, all about someone doing great job. But there is nothing written on the failures that person would have gone through. Nobody talks about it. So should there be any learning from failures? And that prompted me to say and think and write on what are the failures organizations, businesses go through. And there are hundreds and thousands of them. The failures could be the business recruits the wrong person. The failure could be the business takes a call on stocking some goods with a speculative motive, although the stocking need not have taken place. The failure could be a company does an acquisition, which is an M&A in short, and that completely fails and doesn't work at all. The failure could be the company borrows money more than what the company should have borrowed. The debt kills companies, and time and again it has happened that optimism on the part of the entrepreneur saying, let's take some debt, I'm sure God will give us a way as to how to repay that. Doesn't work. God doesn't run businesses, you and me do. So, my book is all about sharing the pitfalls of businesses. And my book also states very clearly that what are the learnings or what are the areas which you should avoid so that the pitfalls perhaps doesn't happen. Pitfalls will happen again, no question about it. But maybe with some open eyes, we will be better off tomorrow than we were yesterday.
Right. So all these failures which you just mentioned about maybe M&A acquisition or hiring the wrong person. So have you tried to analyze like what are some of the reasons behind these failures?
Most of the time, one is the judgmental error. When you hire a wrong person or do a wrong acquisition, it's an error of judgment that you believe this will work out, but it doesn't. One. Number two, perhaps optimism. Let me do it, it will work. Optimism. Number three, and which to my mind is the most critical, is not doing enough homework before taking an action. It is very important to do some homework. When you do an M&A, let's do an Excel spreadsheet. Try to find out the IRR. What's the future cash flows? What could go wrong? Do the sensitivity on it. Most of the acquisitions, you will be surprised to know, would have been decided by the top boss without looking at the Excel spreadsheet or the IRR sheet. He or she would think, that's a company I must go for, that's a company I must acquire. I feel it's a great thing to do, and then no adequate homework. Similarly, some recruitments do take place because someone is referred. He or she would have done or had a good reference somewhere else. But why not spend few hours with that person, understanding he or she is, how he or she is? Again, lack of homework. So essentially speaking, it is the lack of homework or so-called optimism or the matter of judgment, the judgment going wrong. It's all placed together, it's all together. But yes, lack of preparation to my mind is the foremost. And if one does it for anything what to do in life, if you prepare well, including the exams which you people would have passed, the chances of success is greater.
Right.
But please also understand that when you go for exams, difficult ones or top class one, please be prepared to fail. And the moment there is a failure doesn't mean the world has come to an end. I know of organizations who recruits chartered accountants who have not passed in first attempt. You'll be surprised to know. And I know of organizations, and they completely continues to hold that, saying that if somebody has passed in the second attempt, his or her learning would be singularly better than someone who has passed in the first attempt. I'm aware, Kushal, you are a rank holder, and definitely you have not seen such type of failures. But this is a matter of judgment. But it's all a question. If someone has been able to fail, someone has been able to take failure on their stride, he or she will be able to take failure in the real world also.
Absolutely. Wonderful answer. And I think one point which I can take away from this is that the school discipline of doing homework, that is going to be very important. So if you have that kind of discipline right from your childhood days, ultimately it is going to lead you to become a better successful person in the future. So you have to apply that discipline even in your corporate life. So since you've worked in corporates like for over decades now, I think you would be the best person to answer this question. So, people usually say that it's very difficult to survive in the corporate world. You have to manage the office politics. You have to ensure that the manager's expectations are met. Then only you would be able to succeed in a corporate environment. So what are your views on this? Whether it's really difficult to survive in a corporate environment? And if yes, how can one take steps to ensure that he can survive in the corporate culture?
For success, we need to have three qualities, not more, not four. One, you need to have reasonable IQ, which is intelligence quotient, which essentially means you need to understand things and know your subject. You are technically sound, which means. Number two is EQ, emotional quotient, which means ability to deal with others. And the third one, which is not talked about, is LQ, It's called love quotient. Love what you do. Don't try to dispense and blame others. Love what you have, love what you do, love your people around. Now, EQ is what the question is all about. That if you have a good EQ, which is emotional quotient, your ability to deal with others, whether you are in a corporate scenario or a consultant scenario or an entrepreneurial scenario, you shall succeed. There is no extra EQ required in the corporate world. The only difference in the corporate world is that there are always groups of people working together, as it happens to, let's say, a large scale consultancy where we groups of people who are working together, as opposed to an entrepreneur where you are the boss and you have to take the call, perhaps early in life. So yes, in corporate world, same thing will happen. There will be failures. Someone may get better posting than you. Someone may get promoted before you. And many people then suffer a huge ego issue or suffer a setback and they're not able to take it. They say, a corporate world is not for me. Now what will happen? You have to bear this so-called setbacks or failures and move ahead, only to realize that 2 years later or 3 years later, you got promoted before your colleague who got promoted before you. So in the long term, if you are good, if you have an IQ, EQ and LQ which is comparable and good, chances are that the world is fair. But sometimes some of us are not able to take these temporary blips in our career, and then we blame that corporate careers are not good for people, corporate career is not good for me, and it's all humbug. That's not true. That's definitely not true. So corporate careers, to my mind, is as good as any other career, perhaps better in certain cases if you're lucky.
Right, absolutely. I think that this is the first time I have heard about LQ, because IQ and EQ, everyone has heard about it. And LQ, like love quotient, that is also equally important, because it's equally important to love what you do and do what you love. So both these things run parallelly. And if you're able to love what you're doing, then ultimately it's your passion and you will be able to survive and give your best in whatever you're doing. Completely agree on that as well. The COVID-19 pandemic was hit, and then like everyone had to switch to the work from home environment. So I personally feel that the learning was minimized at this point of time, because the informal talks with our managers during those office breaks or the actual office environment, we aren't exposed to that kind of learning. So what are your views on this, and how can one minimize the gap in the learnings from work from home and work from office environment?
Work from home surely has given more time to people. To cut the long story short, the traveling time is gone.
Right.
So even whether it is 15 minutes or 1 hour, the traveling time is gone. So people have more time to concentrate on him or herself. Many have utilized or misutilized this time, either by doing nothing or by watching whatever movies and so on and so forth. So work from home has given us an opportunity with more time to add value to ourselves. This is the plus of work from home. The minus of work from home is nothing like being together. When you meet your colleagues, when you meet your peers, there is always called, can I have a 2 minutes chat with you? Can I speak to you for 5 minutes? Plus, when you are in the restroom or the lunchroom or the dinner room or wherever, the talks which happens with each other, there will always be some learning and the bonding and togetherness. Now, what has happened in work from home? So many people have not even met their colleagues, because new recruits over the last 1 year, they have not met them. They may have seen over web, but that's not meeting. You don't know what he, she is, what is the value system, how do they behave in a real life. So work from home is good, provided I can enrich myself to the time which I'm saving. However, I personally believe in business situation, it's nothing like being together. The learning, the mirth, the beauty, the togetherness, the so-called EQ and LQ impact of that is phenomenal when you are together. It can never be captured in work from home. My personal view is that business needs togetherness, business needs touch and feel, and therefore long-term work from home is a value destroyer. We need to
Right.
get back to our place somehow or the other, sooner than later.
Right, absolutely. And what would be some advice you'd like to give to all the young professionals who've just recently joined the organization in work from home environment so that we can minimize the gap in learning? So how can we ensure that we are also learning constantly?
My submission to all of you is that work from home has given you a lifetime opportunity of more time. It is. It's a fact that you have got more time. Please pick up a new trade, new learning, new technique, or a new function which you do not, which you have not done. For instance, if you're a chartered accountant, you have heard of artificial intelligence. Can you do a nighttime course on artificial intelligence? Can you learn that much better than what you have learned so far? Cryptocurrency, for instance. Can you learn little more on that? Significantly more on that? Can we learn more on blockchain? Significantly more on blockchain. Cryptocurrency is a subset of blockchain. Blockchain is a superstructure on which everything lands. Now, if you were running to the office, coming back tired, 5 days or 6 days a week, to tell you that, okay, now please learn blockchain, it's impossible. It's very difficult because it needs effort. But today, with this work from home environment, perhaps you can. And most of us have to take that pledge. I will do it. I will learn something new. For instance, you are let's say, an indirect tax expert. You love GST and you feel I would love practicing GST. But why GST? Why not indirect tax? What's wrong with it? So while you are working from home, learn direct tax, become a direct tax expert. So you are a tax expert, not indirect tax expert. Honestly speaking, many of you feel I'm a direct tax person, I will do it for life. I'm an indirect tax person, do it for life. No, why? If a client comes to you, a client wants full solution, direct or indirect, because one leads to another, by the way. It is not in isolation. Okay, a GST form filling is in isolation. But if you have to give a holistic solution, if I can provide the holistic solution to my client, this is how you should structure your transaction, this is how you structure your dispatches, this is how you structure your organization, and which has the direct and indirect tax implication, would that client not come back to you again? So learn a new trick, learn a new trade, utilize this time to add value to yourself. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I believe in the next 6 to 9 months, hopefully the world will become quite normal. And definitely in 1 year's time, but after all of us are getting vaccinated, chances are that we will all be back to workplace again. But then you will again lose out. You will say, oh, I should have spent that time to learn something. Why do that? Why not learn today?
Right, right. Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful advice as well. In a recent interview in Economic Times CFO, you had also stated that do not take your stakeholders for granted, be it your employees, lenders, or vendors. If you treat them fairly and honestly, the long-term benefits are immeasurable. So now we have been speaking from employees' perspective. Let's also speak from the organizations, that is the employer's perspective. So how can an organization ensure that each and every employee who is working under him is always satisfied with the work he or she is doing? So what would be your piece of advice to the organization having a large number of employees on their payroll?
Looking after the employees' interest is a management ethos. Some organizations follow it, some do not. Unfortunate truth is that organizations who care for employees, their return on investment is singularly higher. Many entrepreneurs do not believe that employees add value. They believe I add value. It is the employees, the togetherness, that everyone adds value to any business. Business cannot be run by one single individual. It's not possible, howsoever brilliant he or she could be. Therefore, as you go along in with your life, as you speak to your friends, you will figure out that some organizations are taking care of their employees. And you will also hear gory stories of how organizations are pushing their employees and not treating them fairly. If you believe employees are cost center, then that's a negative. If you believe employees are profit centers, then that's value accretive. So as you go along in your life, try to choose organizations which believe employees as profit centers, but many other times we don't have such choices. This is good to say on a webinar, good to say write down on an article, but many of the time we need to do what we get at that point of time. So, yes, that's the truth in life. We will be sometimes treated well, we will not be treated sometimes well. And I think if you are not treated well, take it with a pinch of salt. Say, okay, the bad times will pass, and tell yourself all the time, tough times do not last, tough people do.
Lovely, lovely. What an amazing answer that was. And even I feel that any organization is successful only because of its stakeholders, the employees, the vendors, and the customers. So ultimately, if you value them, then only you would be able to succeed in the near future. Like these are some intangible assets which are not reflected in the balance sheet, but their value, it's like infinite. So completely agree with you on this as well. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your words of wisdom. It was indeed a very insightful conversation with you. One last question I'd like to ask you is that what would be one piece of advice you would like to give to your younger self?
For all my young viewers, my one piece of advice is have a positive attitude. Bear a positive attitude. If you have a positive attitude, anything is possible. Anything and everything is possible. Do not think that I am not good and I will not be able to do. Believe in me that if you think that I can do, this can do and I will do, there is a 99% possibility that you shall do. Never complain on others, never complain on the environment, never complain of other people. Just because you are complaining, others are not going to change. Environment is what environment is, other people are what they are. We will have to change. And what change we will have? A positive attitude. And believe me, the world will change around you.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for this amazing advice. Have a positive attitude and always have this positive mindset. It is going to inspire a lot of people to give more than 100% in their daily lives. Thank you so much, sir, once again for taking out your time from the busy schedule. And it was lovely talking to you. Wish you all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Kushal. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.